Hi, I'm Hari Srinivasan, an anchor and correspondent for different PBS programs like The News Hour and Aman Porn Company and Take on Fake, and you're listening to The Soul of Life.
Well, it's Texas, so we do things a little bit different from the rest of the country here.
2019 might not be the year you'd pick to quit your steady job and start a bakery. The pandemic was just starting to surge in 2020, and it would decimate restaurants and cafes everywhere. You'll also recall that in the fall of 2020, the early months of the pandemic, there was a shortage of basic supplies like sugar and flour. People were stockpiling toilet paper, and websites were popping up that alerted you when suppliers like Amazon or Costco had certain items in stock, so you could have a few seconds to click before they were sold out again. Well, right around that time, a guy down in Houston named Mark Lennon was making sure people didn't run out of cake.
We gotta have cake.
Mark had a career as a truck driver, which provided him with steady work to support his family. And in the past, he had tried starting his own businesses without much luck. But in 2019, something awoke in Mark that lit a fire.
That's what cake does to you.
It lit a fire for packaging delicious and cleverly named cakes in canning jars and shipping them all through the country.
All my truck driving buddies bought so much cakes from me in the beginning when I was just selling them 1 or 2 jars at a time.
Today on The Soul of Life, I speak to Mark Lennon to find out what it takes to launch your own business and go to work for yourself.
Right now, I pretty much do all of it. It's like, gosh, if I see one more egg, if I have to crack one more egg, that moment does come.
If you've ever woke up and wondered if you're following the path you're meant to follow in life, you'll appreciate Mark's story.
When I started this business, I had no idea where it was going to go.
Mark has a word of encouragement for you if you're on the fence about breaking new ground in your life.
There's a lot of people out there right now that's thinking about starting something or, want to try something different. My advice is just go for it.
And we speak about the fear of failure that often stops us from innovating, learning, and growing into new opportunities in life.
This is how I've always looked at it. Like right now, I'm not living my dream. So what if I tried something and it didn't work? Well, I'm still in the exact place I was. I'm still not living the dream. But what if it does work?
Since Mark is 6'5" and sports a James Harden-style beard, I couldn't resist asking him if people often mistake him for the Houston Rockets basketball star.
What would happen if I got a Houston Rockets warm-up jersey, walked around, got 2 of my buddies, and to put on suits and walk to the mall and just see what happened?
And we talk about our shared pastime of learning to love hip-hop in the 90s.
Hip-hop is universal, man. I mean, it appeals to everyone. It's just something about it that appeals to everyone.
Welcome to The Soul of Life. I'm Keith Miller, and this is episode 10, Brother Bakes.
Like, I was listening to Lionel Richie and, Phil Collins at the time. And nothing against those guys, but after I heard Can I Kick It, my life just changed, and I fell in love with hip-hop on that day.
I'm Keith Miller, and my podcast, The Soul of Life, is here to help you remember who you really are. I'll bring together people who have gotten off their treadmills. I'll have conversations with athletes, musicians, doctors, scientists, healers, and entrepreneurs to discuss the fascinating edges of our knowledge in neurobiology, psychology, and physics. This is The Soul of Life. Have you ever been in a position where you know that you or your family member really needs emotional support or marriage enrichment, but you find out how expensive it is to get access to high-quality, out-of-network professionals? Well, I've created the Soul of Life community just for this. At community.souloflifeshow.com, you can join for free and be part of a network of caring and supportive people having conversations that can bring healing to your soul. It's there that you'll find access to psychoeducational courses to deal with stress, anxiety, and relationship conflict. For example, right now I'm offering a 7-week immersive course for couples called Mindful Marriage that walks people through a mindfulness-based stress reduction curriculum I designed that really gives couples in conflict a map towards stability, trust, and deeper intimacy. Just go to community.souloflifeshow.com, check out the courses, and join for free to be part of the Soul of Life community of learners and soul seekers. Mark Lennon is a baker with a bakery in Houston called Brother Bakes. And I'm talking with him today because of his story moving from a truck driver to becoming a baker. And we're going to find out how he did this and talk about all the different things that are involved in running a kitchen. But the story of talking with Mark Lennon comes from his account of working in his parents' kitchen, where he was missing his mom's baking, basically, and doing well in his family, but realizing that he wanted something else. He heard Steve Harvey on the radio one day at the barbershop, and Steve Harvey said, if you hear that alarm clock go off every morning and you don't want to get out of bed, then something's not right. And those words echoed in Mark's mind because he was doing something at the time that wasn't what he wanted to do. It wasn't where his soul was. It wasn't where his passion was. So Mark said, I got to do something about that. Went into baking and created a successful business in Houston. So Mark, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm wonderful. It's good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you, I love what you're doing. And, I'm not just saying this because I'm on your show, but, I've had a chance to check out some of your stuff.
Cool.
I'm a huge fan of Dominic Dawes, so I was definitely digging that one. Little schoolboy crush back in the day.
Oh, man. Yeah.
But anyway, I love the format. I love what you're doing, the different people you're bringing on.
Thank you so much. It means a lot to me. It's great to talk with you. You're doing something really unique, and I'm really interested to hear how it's going there, especially through the pandemic. Are people now, where I guess we're talking about post-pandemic, but how is things with the pandemic down there in Texas right now?
Well, it's Texas, so we do things a little bit different from the rest of the country here, but things are going well. Things are getting better. As far as my business goes, during the pandemic, it actually was doing fairly well because of the type of product that we sell. It's a very COVID-friendly product. It can be shipped all over the country. It comes in jars that are already sealed. So, people were ordering them. They weren't able to get out to the stores or get out to restaurants and cafes to get their desserts, but I was glad we were able to provide those needs for people.
We couldn't get toilet paper, but we could get cakes from you.
Absolutely.
I mean, what is really important, right?
I know. Absolutely. Gotta have fantastic
cake. You gotta have cake. I mean, I agree with you completely. In a little bit, we're going to show people. I want to actually show people your website for those people that are going to be watching this, and show people what these cakes look like because they're amazing. I have a friend who every time I make something similar to what you have, usually it's in a big bowl. You've got these like serving size, which at least tells you like when you should think about stopping.
Exactly.
like one jar, right? And so I bring this cake over to my friend sometimes. And he's like, you got to get that out of here. That's crack. You got to get that crack out of this house. Because it's like that cream and the butter and the sugar. It's like that mixture of things. You're full, but you just keep eating it. It's like one of those things.
Yeah. You just keep going, man. That's what cake does to you.
Yeah, that's right. So people were they haven't stopped eating during the pandemic. Stress eating's a thing, right?
Absolutely. I know it was for me.
Yes,
I certainly put on a few pounds during the pandemic myself. Of course, working in a bakery doesn't help.
Working in a bakery, I mean, I suppose seeing somebody that wasn't eating their own baked goods, like you might wonder what's going on.
Exactly.
But yeah, so you have this really cool story, Mark, that you were doing something really different before becoming a baker, and you don't have training. It sounds like as a baker, you just decided one day to stop what you're doing and become a baker. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So at the time I was a truck driver, and I enjoyed driving a truck. It was a good way to provide for my family. And that's what I did. It wasn't until I heard that message from Steve Harvey that really kind of lit a fire under me to follow my passion. Truck driving was never my passion. It was never like the end game for me. But once I decided to, follow my passion, kind of look for what I wanted to do, that's when I decided to start baking.
That's great. So what did your wife think of this idea?
Well, at first, because, I was a serial entrepreneur for a little while. So I was always kind of looking for the next thing. So what
did that mean serially broke?
In many ways. In many ways. So what she told me to do was, look, if you're going to do this, you need to make sure this is what you really want to do. go for it, put everything you got into it, and that's what I did, and it worked out well.
That's really cool. So what's the size of your kitchen? Are you doing a lot of the stuff yourself? Have you brought people on board to help?
Uh, right now, I do most of everything on myself. When we get like slammed, we bring in some people here and there. But right now, I pretty much do all of it. I have a couple of people that help me out from time to time. But I do the baking, I do the stuffing of the jars, even do the shipping when I have to.
Wow, wow. And
Yes, sir.
I know as a fellow entrepreneur running my own business how rewarding that can be to have your hands in everything. But also, you're up at night ordering things, you're prepping probably
Yeah.
far more than the average person who has these systems already set up. You are the system, right? So you
I,
must have to shoulder all of that stress.
I do, and it's a lot. It's a lot because I also have to be customer service, and like you say, we also have to take care of inventory and all that stuff too. So it is a lot, but it's just part of what you do when you're trying to start a business.
Right. Right. Now, how many of your sales are kind of like, can people come into your store? Do you have a storefront, or is it, are you finding supermarkets to stock your cakes? How are you selling
Um,
the products?
we do sell. Most of our sales are online. We ship them all over the country. I think at this point we've hit all 50 states, and but we do have a little bit of local business here at a couple of farmers markets, and we're actually speaking with a few places here about selling the cakes in their stores as well. And there are a few other things on the rise as far as selling in our stores as well that we're working on.
Wait, so you're saying I could actually stop talking to you or pause and go ahead and and order a cake right now?
You can order a cake right now.
Okay,
Absolutely.
let's pull it up here. Let's see where we are here. Can you see my screen? I got to show people this.
Yeah, there we
Okay, so,
are.
so we're on brotherbakes.com, BROTHABAKES.com. And I have a side question. We're going to talk about rap music after this, but that's just a side
Let's
question.
do that.
So this is the flavors. This is what it looks like. Now, not everybody's going to be seeing this video, but I just want to describe for people. We've got some flavored creams. It looks like, so this is the first one is called Ready Murphy. And by the way, the names are
Yes.
awesome.
Have a lot of fun with that. Yeah. So the Ready Murphy actually is the first cake I ever baked on my own, and I'll tell you a quick story about the names. So when I started this, I was like, I didn't just want to call it a red velvet cake. So I was like, you know what? I just started thinking, and for whatever reason, the name Ready Murphy just popped in my head, and that's what started it all. We
It's
just
great.
went from there.
Choco Khan is another one. Let me tell you something good. That's great. Banana Ross. No mountain high enough, no valley low enough, or river wild enough should keep you away from this one. I can just feel that music right now. Jermaine Dupri, after the Atlanta rapper,
Absolutely.
fantastic. Oh, by the way, we got to talk about Biz Marquee.
Yes.
I feel like we've got another flavor. I've got a name for you. It's got to be the Biz Brownie or the, I don't know.
We'll have to do something for Biz, man. Very sad.
Very sad. He's local here. I know we saw him down in Silver Spring. He would come regularly where we are in Silver Spring because Baltimore's not too far.
Yeah.
Very sad. Touch on that again. Homage to the king, Lamont James.
Lamont James, yeah.
Now James Harden. Now you got sort of the James Harden sort of appearance, right? So, but
yes,
maybe one day.
Maybe one day. It's funny. I've been in Houston for about 2.5 years now, and I got mistaken for James Harden so much.
Is that
you guys
right?
can't tell on this video, but I'm also 6'5". So,
yeah.
So me walking in Walmart, people are like, no, I'm not him.
Do you ever just think about saying, yes, I am?
I did. So I thought, what would happen if I got a Houston Rockets warm-up jersey, walked around, got two of my buddies, and to put on suits and walk to the mall and just see what happened. But we never got to that point.
That would be hilarious.
I think so.
I think
Good
that
stuff
would
for YouTube.
Yeah, that would be a postseason, post NBA Finals promotional. Get that to go viral. Mariah Carey, that's hilarious.
Absolutely.
This one will have you feeling deeper emotions than you've ever dreamed of. That's great. Cinnamon Hudson, Keith Harvey,
Absolutely.
in honor of Steve. And now the difference between keys and cheese. Talk to me about the difference in flavors here.
Okay, so the Keys Harvey is a key lime flavored cake with a nice key lime flavored buttercream frosting. So that's that one. The Cheese Harvey is an Italian cream cheese cake. So that's the difference right there with a buttery cream cheese frosting for that one as well. And, Steve inspired me, so I thought he deserved two names.
That's great. I hope he watches this, as I always say when we drop celebrity names on my show. That of course, when they watch this episode, they'll immediately call. First, they'll call me, and then they'll call you, or they'll call you, and then.
And we also have two summer flavors. We have the America Badu. That's not pictured here, and that's just a red, white, and blue. And then we have the Denzel Wash Juneteenth, and as a celebration to Juneteenth.
Juneteenth, yes.
Absolutely.
And you fit it all in that name, Denzel Washington and Juneteenth.
I was kind of proud of that one.
You fit it all in there. I think I like the way this is going. Yeah. This is just amazing. You can get a box of the chocolate lovers one. I'm going to have to stop this interview and just just order. Pretty amazing, Mark. That looks good.
So
you're getting
so much.
Most of these are being delivered and shipped. You're mostly online.
Yes, mostly online. Like I said, we ship them all over the country, including Hawaii and Alaska. People have been ordering them. We're big in California and New York, and of course, Texas is still the number one state that we ship to.
Yeah, you've got plenty of people there in Texas to that eat cake. Where do you see this going? If you had your wish, where do you want to be in 5 years? Where do you want to be in 2 years with this? What would you like to see happen?
Well, I want to continue to just grow the brand. We want to we'll always be shipping these things across the country. That's just something I'm very passionate about. I want people to be able to get them that can't get to the stores. But we are starting to talk to different people about, possibly selling them in their stores and boutiques and things like that. So I think that's the next step. There's been some talk about possibly a storefront. Of course, we would start here in Houston. And people will be able to walk in and just grab them off the shelf and go from there. That's where I see us in the next 2 years, and of course 5 years, just to be the expansion of that.
That's great. It reminds me, one of my favorite shows sometimes we'll watch with our kids sometimes is Shark Tank, and we see those entrepreneurs coming on saying, look, here's an idea, and food is one of those things. Can we get it distributed in Whole Foods or something, or Shopping Mart? That sort of thing. So that sounds amazing. Now,
love Shark Tank.
Yeah, Shark Tank, great show. Of course, since they're probably watching this and they're listening, obviously we shout out to all of them. So as a baker, when you're around food all the time, like what's it like going home then, and how has your relationship to food changed? Especially, like, I know for me, I do the baking and cooking in our house. I've always had a knack for it. I always enjoy it. I'm fast in the kitchen, so when we're all busy, sometimes my wife will do it and it'll take a long time. She just knows she knows this. She just tries, get out of my way. So I sort of have earned that title in our house, and I just can't imagine if that was my job, how it would change my relationship to food and how I would maybe prepare for my family, or what's it like for you? Do you ever feel that? Please take the time now to subscribe to The Soul of Life wherever you're listening. Give it a thumbs up or write a positive review.
I love doing it so much, the baking. So when I get home, it just feels like, just baking some more.
Yeah.
And I love to cook. So it's a little separate for me because the baking is one thing, but of course cooking is something totally different. And so it doesn't interfere too much. Now, I'll be honest, sometimes it's like, gosh, if I see one more egg, if I have to crack one more egg, that moment does come. But for the most part, I love it. I do so much baking here that I don't bake as much at home. Right. When the kids want some dessert, I'll just take a jar or two from here. Exactly. And it's easier.
Why
it's
reinvent?
Easier than going home. Yeah. So that works out.
Now, do you prefer these kind of cakes refrigerated? Do you recommend that these come out of the fridge and you serve them chilled?
Well, I like mine at room temperature. My oldest loves his at refrigerated. My youngest son, he likes his as room temperature.
Mhm.
Now, these they last for 2 weeks unrefrigerated, but I tell
Wow.
people if you're going to, if it's going to be longer than that, you can put them in the freezer for up to
Yeah.
6 months.
Wow.
Now, if you
That's
buy
amazing.
Brother Bakes and it lasts 2 weeks, you're doing something wrong.
Okay. It shouldn't last that long
It should not last that long.
because it's all fresh ingredients. You're not packing this with preservatives.
Oh, not at all. Not at
Nothing.
all.
Yeah. So even I'm surprised with something like butter, you don't have to ship it with any sort of refrigeration or anything.
No, we there are some cakes that we do seasonal
Yeah.
because of that, and
Yeah.
the banana Ross is one of those cakes because it does not travel well in the heat.
Yeah.
That we have to do that. Excuse me, seasonally now.
Right.
But every other cake, we haven't had a problem with it. You know, most our ship time is usually 2 to 3 days, so nothing is sitting around in a warehouse for too long.
Yeah. Yeah. That's fantastic. I mean, and tell me if you want, if you're open to talking about your family and kind of what how this has changed there, or what your family is like, and kind of where you come from, and anyone else in your family say, hey, I'm interested in doing some baking too, or going into restaurant work or anything like that.
Yeah, well, I guess the coolest thing about this, the response I've got from my family, my extended family, and of course my immediate family, has just been amazing. And sometimes it's humbling to hear, the praise or hear like, man, you inspired me to do something. That's probably the thing that I take most from this business because I have a huge family. I think I have like over 100 first cousins alone.
Hmm.
So we have a really big family. So when they call me, send me a text, or I get a inbox, on Facebook or something, it's humbling, to think that I'm inspiring my family to do something. So we do have a lot of entrepreneurs in the family. Some just started, some have been doing it for a while. So that's for me, that's what I take from it most is just being that inspiration. It's like, you know what, if Mark can do it, then I can do it too. And I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, you're absolutely right. It's just about taking a chance. You got to take that leap.
Right.
And sometimes it's just hard for people to take that leap. But seeing that, hey, this guy, I grew up with this kid,
Right.
if
Right.
he can do it, then why not?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think we all need to be able to see someone else doing things. I think that's just the way we're made, sort of. We almost won't do it, or won't believe it unless we see someone else doing it. So
Absolutely. Absolutely.
we all need that inspiration. It's great to hear that that you've got that as well. Um, Things that you do for fun other than baking, what other interests that you have? Clearly, it seems like you have sort of a connection to soul sort of rap music. I'm just guessing.
Oh man, love hip hop, man. Love rap, man. Favorite group of all time is Tribe Called Quest,
Oh,
and behind that is Outkast. Slightly, it's really a tie for first. But I remember the first time I heard a Tribe Called Quest. It literally changed my life. I remember the date perfectly. I was
were we talking
it was
like
me.
92 blowout comb,
Yeah, it was like
right?
91, 92, something like that. And me and my cousin Herbie was over at a friend of ours' house, and this guy had all the new music for whatever reason. And we're in this little small town, Georgetown, South Carolina, and he's playing all this stuff, and I can't tell you anything he played other than "Can I Kick It" by A Tribe Called
Yeah,
Quest. And when that song hit my ears, man, it literally, like, I was listening to Lionel Richie and Phil Collins at the time, and nothing against those guys, but after I heard "Can I Kick It," my life just changed, and I fell in love with hip hop on that day.
I'm guessing Diggable Planets would be in that sort of,
Oh
right?
yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
love the Diggable Planners, De La Soul,
Yep.
Bar Side. That's kind of my music.
Funky and sometimes syncopated, right? For people who aren't familiar, like just jazz
Yeah, it's that
influences.
that jazzy influence of almost like alternative hip hop in a
Hmm.
sense. I think they call it the native tongue type movement. But yeah, that's my kind of music.
That's very cool. I had so just seeing the name of your store, Brother Bakes, and the way that you decided to spell it. So I actually was in part of a rap and hip hop band, gospel band, as a teenager. Super
Yeah,
important to me as a kid. Something most
yeah.
people listening to my show would not guess. But back in the day, church music, soul music, gospel music, that was big in my life. And you know, wanting to do something different as a white kid
Mhm.
in rural Massachusetts. Like, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
We're going to rap. Yeah. So
Yeah.
like that was what, as a teenager, like, yeah, what could be wrong with that? And so I had a 1986 Ford Escort when I had got it from my parents, after nearly destroying it, but, they let me drive it, and it was golden. When I got to college, my friend Tim, his favorite band was Tribe Called Quest. Shout out to Tim Sayeg if he's listening. Um, and he christened my car the Golden Marauder. And now we couldn't just call it the Golden Marauder. I mean,
Yeah.
that's just too proper. So it was THA Golden Marauder. We
There
had
you
that
go.
decal on the back. So
That's awesome, man. I love that. Love that.
little known story.
Now, hip hop is universal, man. I mean, it appeals to everyone.
Yeah.
It's just something about it that appeals to everyone.
Yeah, and there's so many different kinds, just like flavors of your cake. There's different kinds and flavors. I appreciated Biz Markie, speaking of sort of goofy and kind of like there's dark music. There's dark
There
metal
is.
music. There's all sorts of dark music. There's dark rap music, right? There's
Yeah.
hateful
Yeah.
rap music, but yeah, Biz Markie, like you said, Diggable Planets. People that just are willing to tell the truth in their song,
Yeah.
right?
You gotta love it, man. And especially with Biz, how lighthearted it was, and it's something you can play with around everybody. You can let your kids listen to it.
Yeah.
He was. I really, really miss the guy. He will be missed, but his influence on rap, we'll never forget it.
Right. It reminds me of like DJ Jazzy Jeff or those guys.
Yeah, the Fat Boys.
That's right.
Yeah, we lost Prince Markie D not too long ago as well.
Yep. Yeah, it's a big family. What else would you like to say about what you're doing and anything you'd like people to know about? Certainly, people should go to your website right now and buy some cakes, some of these cakes.
Please do.
I can't wait to try it out.
Yeah. The thing I tell people, when I started this business, I had no idea where it was going to go. And there's a lot of people out there right now that's thinking about starting something or, want to try something different. My advice is just go for it, This is how I've always looked at it. Like right now, I'm not living my dream. So what if I try something and it didn't work? Well, I'm still in the exact place I was. I'm still not living the dream. But what if it does work? And you just change your life completely. So it doesn't hurt to try. So that's the only thing I want people to do. Of course, I do want you to go to the website and order as many cakes as possible. But please, if there's anyone out there that's looking to start something, just give it a go.
Let's touch on that for just a little bit longer for a second here, Mark. So, you're kind of talking about not being afraid to try something, right? Because failure, I mean, right? So we are our own worst critic. Sometimes we're afraid other people are going to criticize us, so we stop ourselves from innovating or trying something new, right?
We do. Yeah, and that's it's funny since we're talking about hip hop. So down here we have Slim Thug, and I follow him on Instagram, and he said something not too long ago on Instagram that really just kind of it hit home. He's like, he basically said, don't be afraid to fail. Sometimes you have to embrace the L, embrace the loss. And I don't know what it was about him saying that, but it made so much sense to me. And sometimes that's what we have to do too. I'm not saying you're going to lose. That's the first thing. I mean, you may not even lose when you try it, but it doesn't hurt. If you fail, it's okay. Just pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and go back at it.
Yeah. And then also the definition of failure, if we think about learning, right? Learning is really just not knowing what's about to happen and being open to learning what is happening, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
It totally flips it on its head when we think of like, well, actually learning, we're never supposed to stop learning. It's not as if we make it
never.
Or some people have it, we could, and certainly there's privilege and that's a real thing. But the idea that somehow you can't get to where you need to go why, right? Because if we define it as like, I'm going to make changes and in the process learn how to continue making changes, then there is no such thing as failure, right?
There's no such thing as failure. Yeah. I love that. And that's so true.
Yeah. It's sometimes the hardest thing is getting it out of our head.
Yeah, I think that I know for me, at first that was one of my concerns, honestly, but when you tried a few businesses, after a while, it's like, didn't work out, but I'm still trying.
Yeah,
And, you can't worry about what people are going to think because honestly, from my experience, you can do everything right and you'll still have haters.
that's
You can
right.
do everything wrong and they'll certainly love you.
That's
So
right.
you just
That's right.
never know. You
That's
just
right.
never know.
And I know from experience as running a business, and that's grown over the years, that you can even use the same analogy looking at sports teams. Like there's no sports team out there that expects to not lose. Like that is part of how they form their team and make changes and try to move people through who are going to be more successful. It's like a
Absolutely.
farming process, right?
Yep.
You look at the expense sheet of profitable, or companies like these companies like Tesla. Some of these companies aren't profitable ever.
Yeah, exactly.
And somehow people keep investing in them
And they
because
still
of
do.
the possibility, right? It's like it's going to be profitable. It's like a college education. Like I don't know how many tens of thousands of dollars I went into debt to do that, right?
Exactly. But it was an investment.
It's an investment, yeah, and especially in yourself. So, do you
Exactly.
keep in touch with any people from your crew of truck drivers? Any of the guys, or maybe women as well?
Yeah, yeah. Because I'll give a shout out to Central Transport because that's where I was working at the time, and they were my first customers. All my truck driving buddies bought so much cakes from me in the beginning when I was just selling them 1 or 2 jars at a time. So yeah, I still talk to those guys. I'm overdue to drop some cakes off to them, so I'm gonna have to do that soon. So hopefully, I guess I'm gonna have to do that before this airs. But
Right after you send them to my house, you can just
absolutely, man, got you covered, man.
Yeah,
Got
man.
you covered.
That is great, Mark Lennon. It's a real treat, no pun intended, to talk to you, right? And people definitely need to go check out your website, Brother Bakes, BrothaBakes, and
Yes.
and I'm sure as you continue to innovate, you'll come up with some cool names for these cakes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We got. I'm working on one right now. People been asking for a cake more birthday like, so we're gonna work on that. I'm gonna fine tune that one, and that might be introduced real soon.
I have a really interesting show coming up. The town that I grew up in, like I said, rural, white rural Massachusetts, blue collar, pretty blue collar. But smack dab in the middle of it is this 2,000-acre seminary for Cistercian monks.
Yeah.
Speaking of brothers, but these are the brothers,
Yes.
Right. But they've made jam as part of their. It's really part of their almost, I want to say, sacrament. Part of their sacred living is to work, and to find meaning in their work. And so they've made and produced this Trappist jam, which is fantastic for all these years. But 10 years ago, they said, we are going to get into the craft brewing market. They opened a brewery 10 years ago. And they went to the monks in Belgium because for centuries, monks have been brewing beer. It's been part of their tradition. So they've got these old recipes out there and traditions. And so the Trappist monks of Spencer, Massachusetts are now the only monastery in the U.S. that's brewing beer. So they've really made a name for themselves. Talk about investment. They said they won't pay off any of their equipment for decades.
Wow. Yeah.
It's like that. Now, clearly they're pretty endowed. They're pretty well off to have that sort of a loss, up front.
Exactly.
So not everybody can do that, but it's just it's just amazing.
It is. It is. Yeah, that's good for them, man.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. It's just interesting and brings people into their, the average person, especially in the secular world, wouldn't really ever learn about this Catholic group. And here they are having festivals and giving out beer samples on a weekend and people asking about their faith and that sort of thing.
Exactly.
So it just opens doors. I think that's what
it does. It does. And that's what you want. That's what we want.
For sure. Well, hey, thank you, Mark Lennon. Good luck to you. Blessings to you. And hope we get a chance to meet. If you're ever in Silver Spring or in the DC area, bring me up and I'd be happy
I absolutely will.
Bring some cakes, though.
Yeah, you know what? That's always the second question. Hey, how you doing? And where are the kids?
Yeah, exactly,
So I
man.
got you covered, man. I got you
All
covered.
right. Hey, thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
Hey, I've started a community for Soul of Life fans interested in talking about episodes or getting more information about some of my teaching on IFS, mindfulness, and relationship growth. Head on over to community.souloflifeshow to get access to this group of really cool people just like you who care about the show and want to talk about episodes or hear more, get access to courses, and support each other through life. That's what this is all about. Please leave an iTunes rating for the show and subscribe now wherever you listen to get more soul in your life.
I like it and it's not harsh to my eardrum.
All right, I will go.